Welcome, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you all. Can you hear me okay, Mihal? Can you?
Yes, perfectly. How can you hear? Can you
Loud
hear
and
me?
clear. Loud and
Loud.
clear. Let us, no, Noreen can't be with us today, but we'll light our little candle together and we will keep her. She was delayed coming down from Dublin. So we'll light our little candle together and keep her in our thoughts. She hates to miss this. Serious FOMO. But we'll light our little candle now together, and I'll read a short little blessing from her book.
Yes, Noreen was in Dublin. She was invited up by the national broadcaster to share some thoughts on the season with a very eminent psychologist in Ireland today. But it's very, very stormy, so she got delayed. But she sends her very best. What are you going to share, Rowan?
Here's a little blessing from her book, from Saint Columkill, the patron saint of Ireland. Columkill, one of the three patron saints of Ireland, and he says, Be a bright flame before me, be a guiding star above me, be a smooth path beneath me, be a kindly shepherd behind me, today, tonight, and forever. So we're here at a very special time of year. I'd nearly say my favorite time of year. And even if you're listening back on the recording, even if you're listening 6 months from now, you can share in the spirit of this special time, which is the winter solstice, the darkest days of the year, because the solstice isn't just one day, it's 3 days where the sun stops its descent. It stops dipping in the sky and for 3 days rises in the same spot. And then on the fourth day, it inches up and the planet wobbles, begins its wobble in the other direction. And I love to start around these solstice times, um, recognizing first that while I in the northern hemisphere am experiencing the darkest day of the year, our colleagues, compatriots, confreres in the southern hemisphere are experiencing the longest day of the year. And that has always blown my mind. And it doesn't make any sense. And we have a couple of people from Australia and New Zealand as part of our community. So not only do I like to remind myself of it, but also acknowledge that there are others down there experiencing that. And my greatest lesson from that is that I can be having an experience of the most intense moment in my life, while someone else simultaneously can be having the same experience on the same planet and having the exact opposite perception of what's going on. So I love to begin these moments of solstice of extreme by bringing into our minds the idea that whatever we're feeling, there's someone else experiencing the very opposite of that of that very same experience. And then if you're to take that as a metaphor and bring it into ourselves, that, our aware, conscious, egoic identities having this experience right now. And there are parts of us right now experiencing the same thing and having the exact opposite feeling of what we believe we're doing, you know? So that's also happening within us. The southern hemisphere of ourselves is actually swung more toward the sun than the northern hemisphere of ourselves, inclining away from it. So all that's happening within us too, simultaneously. So this is the greatest time. And in the northern hemisphere, for the winter solstice, for the darker half of the year, I think is actually much, much easier to acknowledge and come to terms with these deeper wisdoms of these solstices because we're spending so much time indoors. There's so much less time outdoors where we're distracted by the beauty of nature. We're inside. It's an interior time. It's a time to be inside and a time to look inside and to really learn from the the mysteries of the natural world. And so throughout culture, you see this time being, one of the most intense. Ritualistically, it's a very intense time. And so we'll be looking a bit at that today and exploring that in the history of Ireland. In the history of astrology, I'm going to talk a little bit about that too. And we'll share a little bit of poetry and song. And then, of course, have you guys have a little chat as well too. And we'd love to hear your voices as well. Yeah. So, Mihal, how are you doing over there? What's going on?
Doing well. It's a stormy day here in Ireland. I like storms, actually. My wife makes fun of me because she caught me one time looking out in the middle of the night. Actually, our baby had woken up, it was 4 a.m. and the storm was going on. And I was looking out this dark window. Like, it was obvious like I couldn't see anything, but I was just like there chewing my tongue looking out the window or in this really intense thing. I don't know if the other men here can like identify with this, but like get deeply like triggered and like kind of activated by an incoming storm. I presume it's the same for everyone across the
I,
spectrum.
yeah.
I certainly get really triggered and like into my pioneering survivalist nature comes out, which rarely comes out, I have to say. So I'm not a
Boy, when
survivalist
it
nature kind of
does,
guy.
when it comes
Yeah.
out,
I'm more of a naturalist, naturist even. Now, my naturist side does come out from time to time, but my survivalist, no.
and of course the climate in Ireland is very temperate. There aren't very we in Ireland doesn't get the extreme
No,
blizzards or
no.
hurricanes or tornadoes or thunder or lightning storms.
Yes.
It's very windy and very wet, but it doesn't get those things. Where it's over here where I am in Western New York, you get all of that. And
It's a life threatening thing at times. Yes, it's extreme, but here it just rains a lot, and we get very caught up in ourselves. So today is a yellow wind warning, and it's like headline news all over, and
now, and of
nothing's going to
course,
change.
in Ireland, it's also it's the national day to see whether the light came into the megalithic tomb of the Neolithic tomb of Newgrange, wasn't it? Are people talking about that over
Oh,
there?
yeah, that's also headline news. Yes, the largest crowd ever recorded there traipsed to Newgrange. There had to be a shuttle to bring people in and out, and yeah, it was a great morning there. Apparently, I don't know if they got a clear day or not. It was a clear morning,
I'll
so
I'll go more into that later. I shouldn't have brought that up right
do.
now, but I'll go into that.
No, no, no. I'd love to hear all about that. You speak really eloquently about that. Such a magical time for our poetic imaginations, as you say, on the longest night. And I would like to share two very new poems to my world, by two great poets. One was sent in by one of our Inner Soul Circle members, a great Liverpool fan, Reverend Anne Tillman,
She's
and
here. She's here with us too. Yeah.
good, good. There's just obviously no Liverpool match on, which is good. And but I would like to just I was thinking that we could enter into a kind of a meditative state. I would share one that poem that she sent in, the Hot Off the Presses, which is a wonderful piece. Um, then I'd like to sing a song that's dedicated to this day in the Irish tradition, an English language hymn from the Kilmore Carols. And then I came across a poem uh, called Winter Solstice Poem by the great Mary Oliver, which I'll share. But thanks so much for sharing that poem, Reverend Tillman. Yes, please share it on our Circle app as well. If anyone has any questions about getting onto that, it's kind of like our own special little forum for getting together. So that's called the Circle app. Maybe we can help many of you come onto that. We can talk about that at the end of the call, maybe. But this is a poem by Angela Alamo O'Donnell, and it's a wonderful poem for many reasons. But there's a line under the title. It's called Solstice Poem, but there's a line in italics under the title said, "Written while rocking a cranky baby." So I don't know how one writes a poem while rocking a cranky baby, but I suppose I've tried and failed. So it's good to know that it's possible. So I have no excuse whatsoever, and I'll follow that with The Darkest Midnight and Mary Oliver's wonderful piece, Solstice Poem by Angela Alamo O'Donnell. The only way this solstice day to greet the lack of light is to sing, to fill the night sky with music, shy of stars and moon as it may be. You still must fling your voice far and away, the best hope you have and are. For song is a salve that heals all harm, the why we whistle in the dark. It rescues us from the teeth of grief, that starved and ever hungry shark that would devour us. The day is brief but bright. Break it with song. Invite the darkling world to sing along. For the only way this solstice day to greet the lack of light is to sing, to fill the night sky with music, shy of stars and moon as it may be. You still must fling your voice far and away, the best hope you have and are. For song is a salve that heals all harm, the why we whistle in the dark. It rescues us from the teeth of grief, that starved and ever hungry shark that would devour us. The day is brief but bright. Break it with song. Invite the darkling world to sing along. The darkest midnight in December. No snow nor hail nor winter storm shall hinder us for to remember the babe that on this night was born. With shepherds we have come to see this lovely infant's glorious charms, born of a maid, as the prophet said, the God of love in Mary's arms. Ye blessed angels, join our voices. Let your gilded wings beat fluttering o'er, whilst every soul set free rejoices, and every devil must adore. We'll sing and pray that God always may our friends and family defend. So grant us grace in all our days. A Merry Christmas and a happy end. We'll sing and pray that you always may our friend and family defend. So grant us grace in all our days. A Merry Christmas and a happy end. Last night, an owl in the blue dark tossed an indeterminate number of carefully shaped sounds into the world, in which, a quarter of a mile away, I happened to be standing. I couldn't tell which one it was, the bard or the great horned ship of the air. It was that distant. But anyway, aren't there moments that are better than knowing something? And sweeter. Snow was falling, so much like stars filling the dark trees that one could easily imagine its reason for being was nothing more than prettiness. I suppose if this were someone else's story, they would have insisted on knowing whatever is knowable, would have hurried over the fields to name it, the owl, I mean. But it's mine, this poem of the night, and I just stood there, listening and holding out my hands to the soft glitter falling through the air. I love this world, but not for its answers, and I wish good luck to the owl, whatever its name, and I wish great welcome to the snow, whatever its severe and comfortless and beautiful meaning. Winter Solstice Poem number 1, Snowy Night by Mary Oliver. Last night, an owl in the blue dark tossed an indeterminate number of carefully shaped sounds into the world, in which a quarter of a mile away I happened to be standing. I couldn't tell which one it was, the bard or the great horned ship of the air. It was that distant. But anyway, aren't there moments that are better than knowing something? And sweeter. Snow was falling, so much like stars filling the dark trees that one could easily imagine its reason for being was nothing more than prettiness. I suppose if this were someone else's story, they would have insisted on knowing whatever is knowable, would have hurried over the fields to name it, the owl, I mean. But it's mine, this poem of the night, and I just stood there, listening and holding out my hands to the soft glitter falling through the air. I love this world, but not for its answers, and I wish good luck to the owl, whatever its name, and I wish great welcome to the snow, whatever its severe and comfortless and beautiful meaning.
Lovely. What was the name of that again, Michal? Tell me.
The name of Mary Oliver's poem was Snowy Night by Mary Oliver. Winter Solstice Poem number 1. I
Beautiful.
love this world, but not for its answers. It's another great line. Yeah. So disarmingly simple. And there's that essential poetic technique of if someone else was here, they would do something else. But this is mine. You know, this is my experience, and I often recognize that moment in any creative act. That, of course, the enemy of creativity or creating something is that it's been created before, that someone else has experienced what you're trying to get across. And Mary there comes clean, you know. If this was someone else, they'd go and do this, but this is mine, you know. This is my experience, and I'm going to describe it in a way only I can, and I'm not going to answer or look for an answer. And within that, the art piece this is scaffolded, and and I often, of course, my own interest is in creativity and creating pieces of art, to all too rarely, but that sense of knowing that our own experience is of value is something that really we have to grapple with every day, isn't it? That whatever we do certainly can be experienced by others, but will never be transmitted quite like we transmitted ourselves. And finding value in that is something that's enviable among I mean, for all of us, it's enviable. But immediately recognizable, and we're always so grateful to the artist or the person who recreates an experience for us. Never have I walked away from a poem or someone's recounting of an experience saying, God, that was so unoriginal. Oh, and then just walk off within itself. So that's the meaningful part of that poem for me, is that there's a meaning even without answers, you know.
Lovely. Yeah, the power of the question and the unanswered question. Yeah.
I'll be collating the notes and the poems that we share here today anyway in a little document that will accompany the recording when we share it with you in a day or so. So
Lovely. And the Kilmore Carol, The Darkest Midnight,
yes.
that's a fascinating him. My one of my favorite things about this time of year is the music, the
Yeah.
songs.
Hmm.
And of course, like the best songs are all Christmas songs. And unless they're the best, they don't survive, you know? Like every year, people try to write a Christmas hit. There's thousands and thousands of hits, you know? And the public ear is extremely discerning, viciously discerning. And only the real gems will be played again next year. Not to mention the ones 10 years' time, or 50 years' time, or 150 years' time. Or in the case of that carol that Micheál was singing, I mean, I think that's from the 1600s, is it? When were the Kilmore carols? But there's a series of these carols from the
Mm.
southeast of Ireland, and here that's the map of Ireland. They're from down here
Maureen's map.
In Wexford. This is Noreen's map. Yeah, this is how Noreen shows a map of Ireland, and it's down here, and in the southeast of the country, and the eastern side of Ireland was much more Anglo. It was settled by, English speaking people sooner than the West. So down there in the 1700s, there was a much more active, English speaking community. So there was a series of carols that was written by a Protestant minister called the Kilmore carols or the Wexford carols. And there was 12 of these big, big songs that Micheál just sang. And they were only sung at this time of year, in the 12 days of Christmas. And this tradition emerged with these carols. It was sung only by men in this little church in Kilmore, and they sung it really, really slowly. And it was a very beautiful tradition. And Noreen, when she was a student in college, and afterwards she went and collected and archived these carols and notated all of the ornamentation. And then she reinterpreted them and sang them as a woman, and sung them with much more energy and life, and then later recorded them with the monks in Glenstone Abbey. So it's a beautiful tradition. So we'll include a couple of notes to that. Um, another
And one of them was made famous by, was it Bing Crosby or something? The Wexford Carol, like, is that it?
the Wexford well, it was on the Chieftains album, The Bells of Dublin, the Chieftains Christmas album called The Bells of Dublin, and it was a famous American sort of country singer from the 80s, from the 90s. What was her name?
Oh, Emmy Lou Harris or something
Was
like
it
that.
Emmylou Harris? And I think she, in collaboration with the Chieftains, recorded that carol. So
Mm.
it became quite famous from the Chieftains album. But there's another one I love, Good People All.
Yes.
Good people all, this Christmas time consider well and bear in mind what our good God for us has done in sending his beloved Son. With Mary holy we should pray to God with love this Christmas day. In Bethlehem upon that morn there was a blessed Messiah born. Near Bethlehem did shepherds keep their flocks of lambs and feeding sheep, to whom God's angels did appear, which put the shepherds in good fear. Prepare and go, the angel said, to Bethlehem. Be not afraid, for there you'll find this happy morn a princely babe, sweet Jesus born.
It's a
Beautiful.
masterful
I mean,
melody.
the
Yeah.
melodies, these huge sweeping melodies, and but seemingly they were sung traditionally by these men in two choirs, like opposite each other, and seemingly Noreen said like they were sung really slow. Um, Good people, this Christmas time. Seemingly they were sung like that, and there was many verses of these songs, so you'd be there for hours. But that tradition is no more, but it has been preserved by Nori.
Mm.
But the songs this time of year, I'd love to know, what are your favorite Christmas
Yeah.
songs? Right in the chat, because I'm obsessed with Christmas songs.
Hmm.
Recently, I returned to or every Christmas, like a handful of them will reemerge and reappear to me, and I'll go, "Oh my God, that's extraordinary!" And the one this year for me was "Oh Holy Night."
Wow.
You know that one? Well, of course,
You're ba- you've barreled into middle age, Owen, if you like Oh Holy
it
Night.
is. It is it's one of the more mature,
Yes.
well-seasoned,
Stuffy even.
but it's history. So I decided to look into the history of it, and I'll tell you why. Because I was singing this at this party, and
You were at hold on. You were at a party.
no, it wasn't
What's
really a party. Well spotted, Behall. No, so it was the annual gathering of this board. I'm the chair of the board of the Arts Council of Western New York, and so we were having our annual board party, Christmas party. And one of our board members that I brought on, he's a really cool, like funk soul musician from Buffalo called Mike Farrow. And he's amazing. He's big into, like, his work is all about social justice and empowering and enlivening and elevating people through music. And so he brought his guitar along to the party, and he started to sing. He said, "This is my favorite Christmas song, Oh Holy Night." And I was like, I wasn't expecting. He's like this big, cool black dude. Like, he's real cool and he's fun, like he's funky. And he takes out his guitar and he's like, "This is my favorite song, Holy Night." And he starts banging away, playing Holy Night. I was like, Mike, I didn't think that Oh Holy Night would be. I didn't put that on. He was like, yeah, and he said, people don't know this, but the second verse is actually it was an abolitionist anthem. It was taken on as an abolitionist anthem at the time in America. And so, and he said nobody knows this, that actually it was. So I looked into the history of it, and the history of Oh Holy Night has a very storied history. It was written in France originally, and it became a great hymn of like the working class back in the mid 1800s, and the Roman Catholic Church didn't like it because it was too stirring an anthem, and it was rabble rousing, and it was getting the the peasants were revolting at the
Oh,
power of this song, and seemingly it was of at the time dubious theological implications at the time. And but then it came over to America, and the it was translated into English by a he was a member of this kind of utopian commune outside of Boston, just off the psychic highway, Route 20 that I live off here, just and he rewrote it, and there was a an essence. But even here in America, in North America, the Canadian Catholic Church had a problem with this anthem,
mm,
this song,
wow.
and yeah, it was fabulous. Here, look, I'll give you an blashed.
Oh, do.
Um, so yeah, and you'll feel there is an extraordinary sense of stirring in this carol. And so I'll sing it in just the first verse, but if you hear it throughout the Christmas time, you should, yeah, really, and again, I'll put some links to a bit of the history of it, but there is this extraordinary sense of emanation of eruption in the melody of this song, and it's through composed. It's really a
Mm,
complex melody, and also there is also theophany is extolled in this. It is through the sense of hearing and listening that the divine emerges in this too. Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Saviour's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining till he appeared, and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angel voices, oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born.
it is.
And
Yeah.
the second verse then, truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. I can't get that second one. Chains he shall break,
Mm,
for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet
nice.
hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we. Let all within us praise his holy name. So,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, abolitionist. But what a stirring one. Absolutely stirring. Yeah.
I thought you meant prohibitionist there for a second, but then yeah, I was like, yeah, we could do it a
No.
few more. Yeah, we could do it a few more prohibitionist hymns around this time of year.
A
In Ireland,
prohibitionist
like
hymn. I'd love
Ireland
to
is
hear. Ireland could do a
Ireland's
few prohibitionist hymns, I'd say. Could it?
church has gone mad from the drink here. Like,
Right, true.
I know it's not. It's actually not as bad as it used to be
Bad as it used to be. Geez, a
back
lot of
before
people are
they.
not drinking. The kids aren't drinking these
The
days.
kids aren't. Well, sure, why would they? Sure, they have 20 other drugs to take.
That's right. Wasting your time with the drink.
But that's very, very interesting. And there's something about taking pre-existing like artifacts of culture and retethering them to kind of modern
Very good.
protest that is powerful, isn't it?
Very good. Yeah, absolutely. And then always, when you hear the powers that be trying to prohibit
Yes.
culture, it's always very interesting what's in it, what's in it that's really corrupting or causing, to think that a hymn like that was corrupting. I mean, I can see why it's dangerous because it is inspirational. It's
To
transformative.
to say a slave is your brother, like back then, must have been just an incendiary thing to say.
Mhm.
And there's another great line I spotted in the first verse that the the God was born and the our soul saw its worth. I really like that, you know.
Fascinating. Yeah, so yeah, it's seemingly from what I was reading, there were like theologically dubious implications, and perhaps that's one of them. You know what I mean? There's all these words have such and these the theologians get very excited when you start making these proclamations about souls and things like that. But there's something in the very like when you're writing a song. I don't know if any of you are writing a song. I'm having a bit of fun myself these days writing songs again, and like there's seemingly only a handful of notes, like there's not a lot of notes, like, but actually when you start to make choices, suddenly there's an infinite amount of notes. And it's like if anyone plays chess, there's only a very small amount of squares on that board. Um, but there's so many directions it can go, and music is even more complex. And then if you bring into music the sense of timbre, of energy, of accent, there's actually an infinite amount of ways that you can sing a song. But there are these songs that survive, that recur and return each year. And those songs, I'm certain, have within them a
Mm,
medicine. They have a code that unlocks something within us that only that very particular sequence of notes and tempos and vowels and sounds, it is saying something. And so here's a cool thing to do is this Christmas time when you're out the next couple of days, if you're in the shops and you're listening, bombarded with this music, try to find a song, that hits you and say, this song has something for me. There's a medicine in this carol. And you could even get the lyrics, and sing it yourself, either uh, in the confines of your own room or the shower, or you could share it with your family as well too. People love when you sing a song.
well, you did that on like you did some research into like you saw this cool dude that you really wanted to be, and you heard "Oh Holy Night" and you went and did some research. So like, did you just Wikipedia it? Is that what happened, or how did you
Literally,
go
like
about that?
Mike told me. I mean, see, I like this is my business. I love to see an artifact, some art, poem, something someone says, and then I will literally Google it and see where it goes. And there's this rabbit hole then, and I go, oh my God, yeah. And even now, like sharing it here, people everyone here will have some feedback on that. Like I loved how you picked up on the worth of the soul and the idea that so that's really hit me as well too, that idea of how do we value our own soul. So I'm thinking about that now from you saying it, and then I'm also thinking about repurposing art for contemporary social issues. And what would that look like? What piece of art would I take, a historical piece of art, and how would I repurpose it for the injustice that I perceive in the world today?
Mm.
So when I start to take a piece of art and do a bit of research, suddenly all these avenues open, and it's all about just following it and taking the time to follow it. And you get great response, you get great feedback, like you get great.
Yeah, I suppose that ties in as well, like with the Mary Oliver poem, because that your experience is unlike anyone else's, and your simple description of your experience will have worth. But also, like your insight into, like, even if you did just Wikipedia something, like your own thoughts that come up through that when you're relaying them to other people, we have to see we have to realize the value in it. Like we can give insight into things that nobody else can. Like if we all Wikipedia'd a holy night and read it, we'd all have different things to say. So we have to
Someone out there
find
might have the
the
exact
remember.
opposite. They might have the exact opposite. They might say, I can't
Yes,
stand that song.
that song actually makes slaves of all of us.
I'm a.
Maybe, but
It's cool. Well, so I could talk about Newgrange now. Will I
go
go
on,
there or
please.
what? Or
No, please, yeah, please show us the
so
soul's worth.
this is the time of year. So let's see, where do I start? Like the 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 oldest astronomically aligned archaeological structure in the world is in the Boyne Valley on the east of Ireland. Now, that was true until kind of recently, where Göbekli Tepe, this other amazing place in Turkey, has been excavated over the last sort of 15 or 20 years. And it way predates this, but nobody has proven an exact astronomical alignment of that, but there definitely is. But before Göbekli Tepe, you used to be able to say that about Newgrange. Ireland had the oldest astronomically aligned piece of architecture in the world. And so I'm still going to say it until I'm proven otherwise. But Göbekli Tepe, if anyone's interested, that goes back to like, it's hard to carbon date these things. You can't carbon date stones, by the way. I used to think you could, but you can't. You can only carbon date the organic material that's underneath a stone if you can somehow get access to that or in between stones. So the dating can be kind of spurious as well, too. Carbon dating of like archaeological sites that go back thousands of years. They're picking a piece of organic matter that they found in between or around the site. So it's obviously, you can argue about that. The stone itself you can't date, but the archaeologists have dated this place in Ireland called New Grange. New Grange. And it's on the bend of the Boyne River, the Brew and the Boyne. Hang on now. I'm going to share my screen with you. Let me see here. One moment. So Newgrange and the Boyne River is north of Dublin. It flows out into the Irish Sea on the east coast, north of Dublin. And it's a fascinating place. So the archaeologists date this place to, here it is. Oh no. Hang on a minute. So it's called Newgrange. Now, the archaeologists date this place to about 3,500 years BC. So 5,500 years ago. 5,500 years ago, maybe 6,000 years ago. And it's here on this hill overlooking the Boyne River. Um, and what are we looking at here? We're looking at a mound. It's a mound. There's the front door is here, the little front door. So it's quite monumental when you're there, and it's up on this hill as you walk up to it. And the outside of this mound is surrounded by this white quartz stone that's from a site about 30 miles away. It was brought in 30 miles away. This quartz, a crystalline stone that was very important in the construction of this. And so here it is up on the hill. And what happens is in Newgrange, this is the front door here. Are you able to see all this kind of clearly, Mihal, or not? I wonder.
Pretty clearly, yes. There's a kind of a pop-up menu that's getting in the
I know.
way.
Hang on a minute.
You
Let
know what
me,
I
let
mean?
me just get
But
rid of that.
you can kind of see
Okay.
it.
Um, so what we have
Yes.
is over the front door, there is an opening over the door. And what happens is this morning, and for the next 3 mornings, the sun rises and it comes over the horizon, and the rays of the dawn sunlight come here through this box over the doorway and shine down this passageway right into the center of that mound and hit this central corbelled chamber. And it has done that. It's totally intact and has been doing that for over 5,500 years. Here's an example of the corridor and the light coming down it. Here's another. Here's the light box over the door. I love that word. The light box is what the archaeologists call this. And the sun shines in through the light box and comes down the passage. And it does this for the 3 days of the solstice. And it shines into this central chamber. Let me see if I can find a nice. And so this is in Ireland, this is front page news in Ireland. Every year, people are hoping that the sun will rise, that the clouds will clear, and that the sun will shine into Newgrange. And it's kind of considered like good luck or a good omen for the year. So it doesn't sound like there was sun this morning, Michal, was there? I don't think so.
I'm just looking now because I'm in a different part of the country.
Yeah.
So I have it's in the Irish Times already here, but it's let me dig up something. I'll see.
So again, in Irish consciousness, we're extremely proud of this place, and it is really considered one of the high points of Irish identity, the kind of foundational archaeological site of Irish identity, of the island of Ireland. And what's fascinating is this could have been positioned to any time of the year, but it's not. It's positioned to this particular time of the year, the darkest time of the year. So there's something profoundly meaningful, that something that has survived for this length of time and that is as present, it's present in the culture today, um, is pointing toward the darkest day of the year and showing us that there is a hope. I believe it's about hope and it's about promise. The promise that even amidst total abandonment, darkness, and despair, not to give up, that this is a shrine to hope. It's a relic to that we can touch that tells us that regardless of where you are in your life, there is a new frontier that will creep into the darkest place of ourselves and be the seed for this great revelation that will rise up in the face of all injustice, and all injustice will be eradicated, and a great new life, a new promise will emerge here on earth in flesh. Yeah, something real is going to happen. And so Newgrange presented that to the people. Our and our Christian story as well says that to us, that something new will come, a promise will be made, and that promise will break away all of the chains and the injustice that surrounds us. So that's the story. We've been telling this story ever since we could tell stories, I think. And it's so important is this story that in Ireland we've preserved it and maintained this artifact in our vernacular. We're still talking about it. It's front page news in Ireland. So there's one other interesting thing. Like if we're to look at that in Newgrange, there's also this other very interesting phenomenon that I want to talk to you about, which is that not only is the sun um, staying at its lowest point over this time, there's also something very interesting astronomically happening at this time that I want to share with you. And that is, let me show you this. One moment here. So if you go out tonight, wherever you are, if it's a clear night and you look south in the southern sky to the south east, and you look up in the sky, you'll see the great constellation Orion. And Orion is very visible or recognizable by these three stars, the belt of Orion, the belt of this big hero figure in the constellation, these three stars, and they're quite visible. And what happens at this time of year in the sky is at the end of summer, this star became available or became visible down here. The star is called Sirius, and it's also known as the dog star. And the dog star appears during the dog days of summer. And you easily recognize Sirius because Sirius is the brightest star in the sky. And it's not only bright, but it's extremely melodramatic. It flashes these colors. It flashes green, red, white, blue, green, red, white, blue, blue, green, red, white. It like literally flashes. It flashes so intensively that humans forever are convinced that it's sending us messages. It looks like some kind of Morse code, and it's driven us demented trying to work out what it is. So all these cultures, all of these histories, these mythologies point to Sirius and say that we came from there, or something in Sirius is foundational, is aboriginal to the human experience. And so Sirius then at this time of year now is very visible, especially because nighttime comes on so early and you can see this star flashing so brightly. Also, the atmosphere at this time of year, because of the cold weather, the atmosphere is less turbulent because of the cold weather. So you can see the stars more clearly and with less disturbance in the sky. So Sirius puts on an extraordinary show at this time of year. And what happens is these three stars in the belt of Orion, they point towards Sirius. And these three stars are known as the belt of Orion, but they're also known as the three kings. And the three kings are pointing toward this wild and crazy star at this time of year. And what happens on the winter solstice is this: the three kings of Orion's belt, they point towards Sirius. And if you follow that line down to the horizon, that's where the sun rises on the winter solstice. Mic drop, as they say, Michal.
Yes.
What do you think of that?
I think I found this out all too late in my life that that the Christian story of Jesus is built upon this astrological phenomenon.
Or was the Jesus story fulfilling the astronomical phenomenon?
What do you mean?
That's another. That could be, that's the other way of looking at it. But
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yes, that would be the orthodox way of looking at it, but I would be looking at it as the latest edition of bringing the stars into story, really. But
I'll
but
put
it's
you,
wonderful. Yeah, the ancient peoples must have been. I mean, I remember the first time I noticed Sirius myself as a child. One of my earliest memories is standing on a bed. So it was a real bed, I think. So I must have been whatever, not a baby, but I was staring out a window and looking at the stars, and I realized that the stars were moving. That was the first time I realized that they were inching so slowly, almost imperceptibly across the sky. And I remember holding my breath for long periods of time because if I breathed, the fog would, or the pain would fog up so that I could watch the stars crawling across the sky. So I must have been there for 30, 40 minutes because I remember watching them move. And but I remember seeing Sirius that night as well, and my mind was completely blown as a child. Still is.
there's the little, I just took a screenshot there of that Three Kings thing.
Mm.
So you can see it over the next few nights. Just go and see it. Go outside, look south, if you know where south is, and look up and you'll see the Three Kings, and then look down and you'll see this crazy bright shining star. A cool thing about this time of year is not only is the atmosphere less turbulent in the cold weather, but all the leaves are off the trees. So you can see through the trees at this time of year, whereas you can't in summertime. You can't, you lose so much of the horizon. So you can see through and you'll see this crazy, it often like it kind of looks like a an airplane. Or if you're in New Jersey, it looks like a UFO. And uh you'll see it there. And then if you're up in the morning at 6 or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, look at the place, make a note of that place and look there and you'll see the sunrise at that point. And it's so cool, because like in our modern worlds, we don't really, I don't know, like nobody's really looking at the stars and where the sun rises. We're not, we're looking at our phone. You ask Siri, what's the weather, or it's so funny. We ask like all you could do is open the front door and stick your head out, but instead you ask your phone what the weather. So that's how we're living our lives. But when you do this, you just feel a kind of an ownership, or you feel more situated and orientated in the world. Like I really can't recommend doing this kind of stuff more to you.
Mm.
And I'd love to hear from you if you notice any difference in yourself having done this exercise. Do you feel a sense of more groundedness and ownership in your environment? Or was it a total waste of time? I mean, I'm putting words in it, anyway.
Well, that could be an interesting thing to begin a conversation if we were to have our breakout room. That what element or phenomenon in the natural world really is your favorite thing to look out for at this time of year, or in the nearby time, so that could be anything from the birds that arrive or leave, or the stars, or what are you looking forward to most now at the next month that can reflect your own interiority, or that you find a desire to see.
Yes, that's a lovely question. Yeah, what in the natural world right now, yeah, is stands out to you? And what's
Mm.
your favorite Christmas song?
Yeah, to offset the meaning. Yes.
What's yours be all these days? What are you listening to for Christmas?
Well, I'm listening to Rafi's Christmas album because my son Rafi can walk amongst the people in Ireland because nobody knows who he is, and I only found out about Rafi because of Owen and his wife Andrea, who live in America, and of course my wife's from she was born in India, so like they don't know who Rafi is either, though, even though she lives in New Jersey, and but she lives here now, thank God. But so we didn't know who Rafi was. So we've been listening to a lot of Rafi. He's a great singer and producer of songs, and so his Christmas album. So there's a lot on that I'm not vibing with.
Yeah.
But the most evocative, then this may seem like a nerdy answer coming from obviously what is not a nerd. It's obviously a very cool person speaking right now. So, and not that nerds aren't cool. Okay, I'd like to put that out there. But there's a great Gregorian chant that I think I have the words to here actually. Hold on. Oh, yes. And we sang this as adolescents in the choir in Glenstall, and it's just really evocative for me. So this is my favorite one, believe it or not. It's in Latin, and it's called Puer Natus in Bethlehem, and I'll give you a blast.
Oh yeah.
Puer natus in Bethlehem, Alleluia. Unde gaudet Jerusalem, Alleluia, Alleluia. In cordis jubilo, Christus natus adoremus. In cordis jubilo. Reges de Saba veniunt, Alleluia. Aurum dus miram offerunt, Alleluia, Alleluia. In cordis jubilo, Christus natum adoremus, in cordis jubilo. Cognovit poset asinus, Alleluia. Quod puer erat Dominus, Alleluia, Alleluia. In cordis jubilo, Christus natus adoremus. In cordis jubilo. There's a lot of more verses, but
Love that one.
it's very moody. Very moody. And yes, a child is born, the sun is risen. It all.
I've been listening to did you check out Jacob Collier's recording at Abbey Road, his Christmas songs at Abbey Road?
There's three of them, I think. I only
Yeah.
listened to one,
I'll
yeah.
I'll include those in it. Jacob Collier is this amazing young jazz musician out of London. He's an absolute genius prodigy. He's the Mozart of many generations. Yeah, and he did these three songs live in Abbey Road, these three Christmas songs. Oh, so beautiful. Listen to that.
Which ones did he roll out?
What did he do? Uh, Walking in a Winter Wonderland, and what else? I don't even know what the songs. They're just I'll Be Home for Christmas and Silent Night.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm going to get down and dirty, my favorite modern Christmas pop song is Last Christmas, by
Oh,
Wham, of course. And
um,
I just love the line,
George Michael.
now I know what a fool I've been. Uh, and
Give
now
us a
if you
blast of it.
kiss
Come on.
me, I know you'd fool me again. But the song, Now I Know What a Fool I've Been.
Give us a
I
blast of it there. Sing it for us.
Now, last Christmas I gave you my heart, but the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I give it to someone special, special. Twice bitten, once bitten, twice shy. Then you feeling, but you still catch my eye. Now tell me, baby, what?
Hmm.
That's all I know. Of course, nobody actually knows the words to that song. Like nobody. It's not allowed.
You're
If you
not
try to learn the words to that song, the universe will.
alive.
There'll be a glitch in the matrix, and you just will go back to the start again.
George Michael. I'm madly in love with George
But
Michael.
now I know what a fool I've been. But if you kiss me, I know you'd fool me again. I think within those lines really is the message
The
for
wheel
all of our
of
lives.
existence.
Yes.
Uh,
Life is about realizing how much of a fool you've been, yet the inability to actually change.
Let us have a
That's
chat. I'll give us 15 minutes, and then we'd love to hear from you a little bit too, and then
yes.
we must go on our merry way. Wrap those presents.
Stop. I've nothing. I've nothing done. Nothing.
Great. Okay. Talk to you in a while.
How was your chat?
Great. Did I put I don't think I meant to put a timer on the
No,
went,
you didn't.
went for longer than 15 minutes there,
Wow,
sir.
nice background, Pat.
Not
Nice.
not that any of our group is complaining about having more time to talk, I think.
No, that was fun.
We'd love to hear back from you a little bit. Pat, was that your voice I heard?
Yeah.
Uh, uh, how was your chat?
Yes, it was,
What's,
Owen.
what's going on? Tell us.
Well, that's a big question. Can you kind of narrow that down?
No, absolutely not.
Well, oh, there you are. Good. You took me off big screen.
I'm going to add you
Don't
back
put
though.
me on big screen.
Okay, I will.
And first of all, I have to tell everybody that my background is totally fake. That is not my house. Just in my dreams, it's my house. But isn't it gorgeous? Really nice. Yeah, yeah. I there was something that was I talked with Mary and it was actually quite nice. Mary and I, along with a couple other people on this call, so it's wonderful to see you all. We're on one of the journeys just this past summer. And so it was nice to reconnect with Mary and see where we're at in our lives now. But you said something that was really interesting, Owen. Number one, I love the phrase "find the medicine in music." That's a poem that's going to be happening soon. I never really think about the possibilities of I guess I just feel it, the possibilities of how healing music can be, for us. But you raised a question and you raised it and then it flew away. And that was, how do we repurpose our soul? How do we repurpose our soul? And so I'm definitely going to walk away and ponder this, but I would love it. I don't even know if you remember the context or anything with when you asked that question, but do you have anything to add to that particular question? How do I repurpose my soul?
I think were we talking about it like the O Holy Night hymn was translated from French by that guy Dwight Sullivan. Dwight was his name, American, and he was an abolitionist, and he really highlighted the abolitionist um, aspiration in that hymn. So, and Michal was saying that in a way, what he was doing was taking something existing and repurposing it for something contemporary and current in our present world. So taking something that
Yeah,
already exists that was referring to something else and taking that thing, but just repurposing it or slightly just t tilting it in a certain way that refers to something current and present. Was that what we were talking about, Michal? Was it?
It was, and I don't know the history of the thing, but did Sullivan Dwight like did he purposefully make it like did he put the slave is our brother line in just so that he would slot it in with the abolitionist movement, or did it just
mm,
become that, or was that just his translation of the hymn? But to repurpose the soul through, I suppose, a pre-existing artifact, like making it your own, making it ours, as
mm,
someone said, and
yeah,
almost dedicating it to another idea. A translation, of course, is a great way to do that. Like, is there mention of a slave in the French version of that hymn?
mm, mm,
Most likely not, I suspect. But so I suppose, yes, repurposing the soul. Like, I often use the word material. In order to express ourselves, we need material. We need words. So you
mm,
can use that alchemically to repurpose your soul through
yeah,
the act of taking something pre-existing and putting your own insight into it. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's
Excellent.
like
All right.
like there's also I'm thinking too, Pat. I wonder is this resonating with you? The idea that like David White is great talking about the names that we call ourselves, and at certain times in our lives we have to let go of those names. So you might have the name of son, and if your parents pass away, you let go of that name then of son, and you become, you know, you're facing
Yeah.
another direction, or perhaps you were, a parent, and then the kid leaves the house, and so you're no longer an active parent. You let go of a certain name, or you're a student at one point in your life, and you're no longer a student. So we go through life with having a series of names that we must let go of, and then
Hmm.
repurpose ourselves. You have to call ourselves. We've to invoke a new name
Mm.
and repurpose the material, yeah, in a new language. Is that, do you think that's what's resonating with you?
I don't know, but I love the idea of repurposing my soul and bringing it into present time,
Mhm.
and then labeling it as you both of you have just done. So I
Yeah.
love the idea of that.
Great.
So thank you.
So nice to see you, Pat, and
Good to see you too.
Merry Christmas to you and yours.
Yes.
Would anyone else like to chime in and to hear your voices there, to hear your angel voices? Elizabeth, hello.
Hello. Hi. Good morning. I'm here in California. It's still morning, and my voice is still froggy. Just thank you so much. Today was beautiful. And to visit Newgrange, I have tears in my eyes. It's just very moving, very soul stirring. And I got to be in a chat room with Pat. We've been in the chat room before, so we know each other now. We've been together a couple of times and we immediately connect, and we're just connected on a number of different levels. We've been through family and so forth, but we both had been to Newgrange at different times. So I had the experience of visiting there, not at solstice, but in the summer. I have cousins in Ireland. My parents came from Ireland, so I have first cousins, and I asked them to take me there because I hadn't been and I wanted to see it. And we got to go into the tomb and have that experience. They do the light play, so it's not at solstice, but they give you the experience of that light hitting the back of the wall. And it's just extremely moving. So to see it, to hear your experience today, sharing it was soul stirring for me. Yeah. So thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Elizabeth. I know it's what's really it always stands out to me is the contemporary treasuring of it in Ireland today. And it's
Yes,
not an archaeological historical kind of it's a present, like people in Ireland are really invested in it as a totem, you know? It's
it's
not
very
about
moving. It's real and it's very moving. It's authentic. It's, yeah, yeah.
it's lovely to see. It's like something has survived in Ireland, you know, against all the odds, a connection to it. It's not just a museum piece. It's
Right.
a
No,
living
not at all.
artifact. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the fact that it's older than the pyramids. I know you gave the years, but older than the pyramids alone blows my mind, most minds.
And
And
Stonehenge, 500 years at least before Stonehenge. Yeah.
amazing, amazing. So thank you. So I just want to say
Thank you,
thank you
Liz.
Lovely. Thank you
for
so much.
today.
Yeah. And anybody else out there, please, we'd love to hear your voice.
I can say something. Uh,
Virginia, hi.
I I live in Minnesota and it recently snowed and it's beautiful. And I was telling Kathleen Walker, we were in the same group, just the two of us, how reassuring it actually was to have snow. Um, Last year we had hardly any, and it felt deeply unsettling. Not only as a human being, but I think for the animals too. And I'm feeling really grateful for the snow, and also very delighted by it because it was a beautiful light snow that was not heavy to shovel, and so that made it a little easier for me. But um, it restored my level of balance. Something is right to have the snow. The way that Elizabeth was saying about and this the sun coming through at Newgrange is so reassuring. There's a continuance. There is something we can kind of count on, although we can't always count on the snow. But it felt like that for me this winter.
Good.
And will you go out now and try to look at the Sirius and the Three Kings, will you?
Oh, absolutely. I love that, knowing that it lines up like that. It's fantastic. I have, even though I live in St. Paul here, there's a fair amount of light pollution, but I can still see pretty well the stars. And I do have the little time and date app. Or if you go on that website and you can click, it's an interactive thing. And you can kind of scroll around and see what's happening in the night sky at this time. So you can find out, oh, that is Sirius. And I've seen that one.
Oops, I didn't mean to unmute
Um,
myself.
and
Yes.
Venus also. Saturn and Jupiter are bright right now too.
Jupiter is the brightest we'll probably ever see it right now. It's like
Wow.
blazing bright.
Yeah.
And but yes, Sirius you will never mistake because it flashes like crazy.
So
And
cool.
just it's like a Christmas light. It's like those little Christmas lights behind you. It's just from another world. It's like every time I see it, I'm like, what is going on? Great. Thanks, Virginia.
Welcome.
Just before
Uh,
we go to Megan their own, do
yeah.
they know what's creating the light from Sirius? Like, does anyone know what's going on?
Oh, I mean, an astronomer would have all these theories. Yeah. But I don't know exactly why it's flashing so crazy and other stars aren't. You know, it's probably to do with there's probably someone out here who knows, but it's probably to do with the specific type of star it is and at what point in its life cycle it's at and these types of things. But you know, and there might be astronomers here and I'll really annoy some of them, but um the, these are theories and these theories of astronomy change over time. And I want people to be aware of that what you hear from an astronomer today is a theory. And I know if there's an astronomer here, you'll kill me, but these things are theories, they change over time. And the things we see in the sky over time we keep changing the words we use to describe the things that we see in the sky. And there's a wonderful book by a guy called Tarnas, Ternas, or Richard Tarnas, and he talks about cosmos and psyche. And he does this anatomy of how humans have used language to describe the cosmos over the centuries and millennia. And he says that actually what we're doing when we speak of the heavens is we're actually speaking of our soul, ourselves, our psyche. So the language that we use to describe the stars is a language that we're using to describe ourselves in our modern world today. And so, anyway, if there's an astronomer out there, I'm terribly sorry. I've just terribly offended you. Megan, are you an astronomer?
No,
Good.
no, I'm not
Okay,
an
thank God.
astronomer. So you haven't offended me.
Not yet.
No,
Not
you
yet.
only inspire me. That's okay.
Are you
And
out doing the
I
Christmas?
just,
Are you doing the Christmas shopping? Where are you?
I'm pulled over, um,
Nice.
uh, because I just been rehearsing for Christmas Eve because I play flute in the church and I didn't want to miss your whole thing. So, I pulled over so you don't have to worry about me. And I just wanted to say that, it was so moving to hear about New Grange and, because we were just in Egypt and we climbed into the pyramid at Giza, into the king's chamber,
Wow.
and it was the most amazing experience because we did it at night. It was a full moon. This was the end of September, so it was right around the autumnal equinox. And we came out. And so, first of all, we climbed up, through these like steps, and you're inside, so you feel a little claustrophobic. And then you get into the chamber, and then we were with a group where we did a chanting meditation, a healing chanting meditation. And the resonance, I have to tell you, like I was thinking, like when you're inside a stone chapel or something, the way the sound is, I was thinking it was going to be like that, but it wasn't. It was like I felt like there was this resonance coming from underneath of us, not bouncing back at us from the stone. I felt like I heard other voices, like there was the resonance of our voices, but I think there felt like there was other sound coming from underneath. And I just wanted to share that experience with you. And the other thing is, it lines up with Sirius, the top of the pyramid.
Yeah.
So there is some connection with the pyramids, and I can't remember what day or whatever, but there's a connection with Orion's belt and Sirius and the top of the pyramid.
Yes, Sirius was a huge. It was in a way their one of their biggest things. When they saw Sirius, it meant that the Nile was going to flood as well.
Oh, right,
So,
right.
and then Sirius and Osiris were very much linked, and the dog star. Yeah, so yeah, to the Egyptians, Sirius was they were one of the societies that Sirius was one of their major gods. That's so cool about the resonance in there. I've studied how the pyramids were built and the sacred geometry encoded into them, and the way they were built was just so mysterious. It's absolutely baffling, And I'll offend archaeologists out there and any Egyptologists now as well, and say that like it wasn't a tomb, that
Right.
there's no
No.
evidence that it was a tomb, and actually it was something else, but we don't know what it
Yeah.
was. But it's very mysterious, And the way that that chamber was built, there's this sort of all these corbelled vaults on top of it, um,
Mm,
that have these stones, huge stones of very particular size that vibrate at a
mhm.
very particular and they were chiseled off to hit this vibration. And so the whole thing,
Oh,
nobody knows what it was. There's all these really interesting theories as to it having some kind of function, rather than a ceremonial instrument.
right.
There's some function
Yeah.
layered on top of the ceremony there.
Well, one thing that I read somewhere is like how they would re they would recharge their bodies so that they could live another how many years. And it was something about the light and the sound, because the gravity changed. And not that I knew, I was just my body in there, so there was no reading of it, but to be recharged, somehow it was a chamber for that. And the other thing that that I it's just my little belief, but who knows where it comes from, is that, like in your school books, there's the picture of the slaves, rolling the stones up logs and, like that. And I'm like, forget it. I think they did it with sound. I think they
Possibly.
lifted those stones and they did all that with sound.
Did
Absolutely.
you bring your flute into the pyramid? Did you bring it into play, Megan?
I would have loved, but we know our voice is our most intimate instrument, and so yeah. But that would have been a lovely thing.
I was following this,
Thanks,
this
Kat.
other guy who was analyzing the precision of stonework on these
Mm,
the hardest possible stones you can find, the stones that they were using,
mm.
these people, and the precision of machining absolutely requires machining. It cannot be done by hand. The level of the margins of error.
Right.
Um,
Like, no, you couldn't even put a piece of paper.
it cannot be done by hand. It absolutely required machining. And there's all this evidence of like little saw marks across these stones all over the place. And there are these
Mm,
little stone bowls and vases that were turned. And the theory is that they were using rocks and to make these perfectly. But the margins of error when you analyze them, this guy brought them into a professional machining shop, that does precision manufacturing.
Mm.
And they analyzed them and they showed the margins of error are like to 3 or 4 decimal places, smaller than a human hair, on some of these things. And the guys were saying, yeah, like, I mean, we can do this. We've learned how to do this precision over the last sort of 30 or 40 years. But 30 or 40 years ago, we did not have the machines to make the type of precision that the artifacts from that period of Egyptian, from that period. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's really, really interesting. There's a lot there that we have yet to uncover. It's very exciting, actually. It'll be a new reading of that period of Egyptian history, which I think will come over the next few years. You'll see more of it. I think there's a great groundswell in reinterpreting a lot of that ancient Egyptian history. That's going to be really exciting. Yeah. And
Yeah, well,
similarly, yeah, go on.
it was so interesting because we were on a tour, and the tour guide is in archaeology and he's in active archaeological sites, so he knows about things that are coming, being discovered. And there's another sphinx under the apartment buildings near the pyramid. There's the sphinx we know, but there's another one that was buried under the sand all this time that no one knew about, and it has all the colors.
Oh,
nice. Cool.
Sphinx is all the way down. It's like
Nice.
hundreds. And
No,
thanks
I
so
mean,
much,
yeah,
Megan.
there's so much on online if anyone's stuck for something to watch.
Want to go down a rabbit hole.
Every year there's some really amazing little Egyptological documentaries coming out. So another thing I've been watching over the last while on the dreaded Netflix, or you'd find it anywhere, but it's called Our Oceans, and it's the latest in the fantastic nature docs that are coming out with the technological age we live in. Nature documentaries are off the charts these days. So if you're looking for something over the Christmas, I'd recommend Our Oceans, it's called, and it's narrated by Barack Obama, which is a deeply unsettling experience, to be honest. To hear his voice without his beautiful brown eyes is just it's not as amazing. But
What a
his
great
voice is
voice.
beautiful, a beautiful voice, and but anyway, Our Oceans will warm your heart for sure.
Our Oceans, cool. And Richard Tarnas is the name of that Cosmos and Psyche book. And similar, I was just thinking about what Elizabeth was saying. And similarly, as we find new language to describe the heavens, we also find new language all the time to describe our past, our history.
Mhm.
And that's really cool, is to view like history, revisionist history, and how we keep rereading, rewriting history. And that's
Mm.
also really cool, is to look at how are we changing the way we talk about our past today is always a really fascinating thing that I love to check out. But with all that, Mihal, and to you all, I wish you all a very restful and a blessed and a peaceful time of friendship and of generosity and of listening. And thank you all, our soul circlers, for this extraordinary year that we've shared together. And so looking forward to the community and the culture and the meaning that we weave together in this little community. Please keep in touch on our Circle app. If you're not on Circle, if you search your emails for an invitation from Circle, you'll find an invitation there and you can set up your account. And if you can't find that, just email us or messages us, and myself or Christina or Cormac will sort you out, and join our community. And please share over the holidays any photos or thoughts or inspiration, because we're all reading it. We mightn't respond, but we're all reading it. And it always enriches and encourages us. So thank you all very much. And Mihal, thank you to you. And we'll send our love to Noreen as well too, who is making our way down. And we'll see you all soon.
Good day, everyone.